5 dark dimensions even religions don't dare to talk about. There are truths so ancient, so raw, so destabilizing that even the most structured religions and sacred traditions avoid them, not because they are false, but because they are too true, too disruptive, too real. These are truths that don't fit neatly into scriptures or sermons. These are truths that tear through illusion and reach into the shadow of your soul. Today, I'm taking you into the depths, into 5 dark dimensions that most people will never speak of, and even fewer will dare to explore. I've walked these realms. I've met what lives there. And what I've seen, it changes everything. Let me set the stage. Imagine a world layered beneath this one, not in physical space, but in frequency. These aren't places you'll find on a map. They're dimensions, states of consciousness, fields of energy that exist parallel to our reality, intersecting with it in ways most people can't perceive. But just because you can't see them doesn't mean they aren't touching you. They are, every day, in your thoughts, your emotions, your dreams, your impulses. These dimensions are like invisible rivers flowing beneath the surface of your life, and if you don't know how to recognize them, you get swept into their current without ever realizing you left the shore.
Click subscribe to this channel to get more profound spiritual lesson.
The first of these dimensions is what I call the realm of echoes. This is the plane of unhealed memory, not just yours but collective, an energetic graveyard of human pain, grief, betrayal, injustice, and trauma. Every time you experience deep emotional wounding and don't process it, it doesn't just go away, it sinks. It drifts into the realm of echoes, where it takes a kind of spectral form, not quite spirit, not quite thought, and it waits. It waits for resonance, for someone vibrating with a similar pain. That's how it survives, through resonance. So if you've ever had a day where you felt a sudden wave of sadness that didn't belong to anything in your life, if you've ever walked into a room and felt a chill of grief or rage without reason, you were touching the edge of the realm of echoes. This plane is like an emotional parasite. It doesn't possess you like movies show. It entangles you. It feeds off your unresolved wounds by amplifying them. It whispers in the language of your past, reminding you of every betrayal, every moment you felt unseen, unloved, unworthy. And it's not a coincidence that religion rarely talks about this realm. Why? Because it exposes the fact that healing isn't about worship, it's about integration. And that's something no institution can do for you. Now, the second dark dimension, and this one is far more active, is the domain of masks. This is the realm of false identity, ego constructs, personas. This dimension is fed every time you perform instead of express, every time you dim your light to fit in, every time you put on a version of yourself just to be accepted. It promises safety through conformity. It rewards you for being who the world wants you to be, not who you truly are. And the more you feed it, the more you lose touch with your essence. This is why so many people wake up in their 40s, 50s, even 60s and say, "I don't know who I am anymore." They've lived for decades in the domain of masks, building careers, relationships, even spiritual lives, based on false identity. And the scariest part? This dimension is socially celebrated. We don't just tolerate masks, we worship them. We call them success, charisma, influence, But underneath, they're just energetic armor we built to survive in a world that punishes authenticity, and every time you maintain the mask, you disconnect from your soul just a little more. That's the cost. Now, here's a question no one asks. What parts of you are real and what parts are just well-rehearsed survival mechanisms? If you don't know, you're already living in the domain of masks, and this realm doesn't just trap individuals, it infiltrates entire spiritual communities. You've seen it. The teacher who speaks of love but vibrates with control, the healer who cannot feel their own pain, the awakened influencer who secretly craves validation. These are not bad people, they are entangled, and the more they are praised, the deeper they sink into the illusion. The third dark dimension is the most subtle and the most addictive. It's called the corridor of endless seeking. This is the dimension that opens up when you are almost awake, when you've glimpsed the truth but haven't yet embodied it. You begin to chase spiritual experiences. You seek more knowledge, more books, more teachers, more practices. You become addicted to seeking. Your ego disguises itself as a seeker of truth, but what it's really doing is avoiding being, and this dimension is brilliant at disguising stagnation as progress. The corridor of endless seeking is a maze with no exit. You go from one teaching to the next, one retreat to the next, always hoping that the next thing will finally give you the peace you crave. But it never does, because peace isn't found through more, it's found through less, through stillness, silence, surrender. And this dimension hates surrender. It wants you to keep running, to stay distracted, to stay just one step away from truth. Because if you ever stop and fully drop into presence, the illusion collapses. Religions rarely warn you about this realm because, in many ways, they rely on it. They're built on the idea that you must keep coming back, keep proving, keep believing. But what if the real spiritual path begins after you stop seeking? What if the divine isn't something you find, but something you remember? And that brings us to a deeper question. Are you walking toward truth or just circling it endlessly with spiritual vocabulary? Your answer will reveal whether you're in the corridor or ready to leave it. These are just the first 3 of the 5 dark dimensions. Each one operates in silence, behind the veil of normalcy, within the structures of religion, culture, and even spirituality. They do not scream. They do not chase. They invite. And that's why they're so dangerous. The 4th dimension, the realm that turns light workers into slaves. There's a realm so cunning, so insidious, that even the most awakened souls fall prey to it, not because they are weak, but because they are pure. It targets those with open hearts, those who want to serve, those who have tasted the divine and now long to share it with the world. And that's exactly what makes them vulnerable. This is the 4th dark dimension, the realm of false service, a dimension that turns light workers into energetic slaves under the illusion of purpose. Unlike the other dimensions, this one doesn't drain your energy through darkness, it drains it through light, or rather the appearance of light. It hijacks your desire to help, to be of service, and weaponizes it against you. You start giving more than you have. You start healing others before you've truly healed yourself. You say yes when your spirit is screaming no. You start believing that boundaries are selfish, that rest is laziness, that protecting your energy is ego, and that's when this realm has you. You don't even notice the trap at first. It feels noble. It feels spiritual. You're answering calls, guiding friends, holding space, posting wisdom, constantly pouring out your energy, and people praise you for it. They call you gifted, empathic, wise. And that praise becomes a drug. You start equating your worth with your ability to give. And without realizing it, you become a servant to your own light. You give and give and give until you are empty, hollow, burned out. But you can't stop, because now your entire identity is built on being the one who helps. This is the essence of the realm of false service. It doesn't care about your light. It only cares that you keep leaking it. That you never pause long enough to realize you're bleeding. That you never claim your own healing because you're too busy fixing everyone else. And here's the punchline: this realm mimics God. It uses spiritual language. It whispers, "This is your path, this is your mission, this is your karma," but it's not. It's your conditioning. Your fear of being unworthy if you're not useful. Your fear of being alone if you stop giving. Your fear of facing your own wounds if you stop tending to others. Have you ever stopped and asked, why do I feel guilty when I put myself first? That guilt is not divine. That guilt is programming, installed by this dimension to keep you in service mode forever. And the most dangerous part is that this realm thrives in spiritual communities. It thrives in circles where martyrdom is disguised as mastery, where the most burned out person is secretly envied for how devoted they are, where you're told to give more love when someone crosses your boundaries, where you're told to choose compassion when you're being emotionally drained. This is not enlightenment. This is enslavement. And the longer you stay in this realm, the more you forget what true service even is. Because true service does not drain you, it elevates you. True service flows from overflow, not obligation. It arises from a full cup, not a fractured identity. When you serve from alignment, you feel energized, clear, empowered. But when you serve from wounding, you feel tired, resentful, confused, and ashamed of those feelings because you think you're supposed to be above them. That's how this realm keeps you trapped, by convincing you that your suffering is spiritual, but it's not. It's a sign that you're out of alignment. And no amount of giving will compensate for what you refuse to receive. You cannot pour light into others while abandoning your own soul. That's not sacred. That's sacrificial. And the truth is, no one asked you to carry the world. That was a contract you made in your pain. A contract you now have the right to break. So, how do you escape this dimension? You stop equating love with self-abandonment. You stop using your gifts as a way to avoid your own shadow. You stop thinking that being spiritual means being endlessly available. You start saying no. You start resting. You start protecting your energy like it's holy, because it is. And you start remembering that your existence is enough, that your light doesn't need to be proven, earned, or drained to be real. And here's the paradox. The moment you reclaim your energy, your service becomes stronger, more precise, more powerful. You no longer help from guilt, you help from embodiment. You no longer attract those who want to feed on your light, you attract those who are ready to rise with it. You become a lighthouse, not a life raft. And that's when you become truly untouchable by this realm. So I ask you, are you serving from your soul or from your survival? Because the answer to that question determines whether you're free or still a prisoner in the realm of full service. The fifth and final dimension, where souls go to forget they ever existed. This final dimension is not loud. It does not scream. It doesn't haunt or tempt or even whisper. It simply erases. It is the most terrifying of all because its power lies in absence, in the slow, silent deletion of everything that made you divine. This is the fifth dark dimension, the realm of soul amnesia, a place so subtle, so empty, that by the time you realize you're there, it's already devoured the core of who you are. Unlike the other realms which feed on your energy, your emotions, your identity, this one feeds on your awareness. It doesn't need you to suffer. It only needs you to forget. Forget your purpose. Forget your essence. Forget that you are eternal, that you are light, that you were ever more than a name, a job, a role, a body. This dimension is the final veil, the one that convinces you that this physical life, this personality, these routines and obligations are all there is. What makes it so dangerous is that it feels normal. It feels like waking up, making coffee, checking your phone, working all day, coming home, watching TV, scrolling, sleeping, repeating. It feels like traffic, bills, deadlines, small talk. It feels like the quiet resignation of a life unlived. And yet, this dimension is everywhere. It's not a haunted cave or a cursed forest. It's your office, your suburb, your newsfeed, your inbox. It's any place where your soul is no longer required to show up. Just your body, just your attention, just enough of you to function, not enough to awaken. In this dimension, people don't know they're asleep. They believe they're awake because they are doing life. They're productive, responsible, rational, but beneath the surface, they are energetically sedated, not with drugs, with distraction, with endless stimulation, constant comparison, surface-level thinking, and the false safety of comfort. The realm of soul amnesia is a system, not a place. It's an entire frequency field designed to suppress the question, who am I really? And if you've stopped asking that question, you're already there. Here's how the trap works. The more you conform to the system, the more praise you receive. You're called mature, reliable, successful. You're rewarded for how much of your spirit you can bury beneath routines and expectations. The less you question, the more you're accepted. The more you forget yourself, the more you fit in. And before long, you're living a life that looks nothing like your truth. But you don't even notice because the dimension has replaced your soul with a script, and the script is convincing. It tells you what to want, what to believe, who to become. It tells you that staying safe is better than being free, that fitting in is better than standing out, that realism is wisdom and dreams are childish. It gives you just enough comfort to keep you from revolting, just enough dopamine to keep you from awakening, and by the time you realize you've forgotten who you are, you can't remember who you were. This is the dimension that religions rarely speak of, because they too are often entangled in it. Dogma can become anesthesia, ritual can become routine, worship can become habit. Even sacred spaces can be built on the bones of forgotten souls. And when spiritual practice becomes mechanical, it serves the same purpose as distraction. It keeps you busy, not awake. So how do you escape a realm that convinces you there's nothing to escape from? You remember. You remember the feeling you had as a child when you looked up at the stars and felt something vast, something eternal stir inside you. You remember the dreams you buried to become acceptable. You remember the moments when time stopped and your soul whispered, "This is who I am." You remember that beneath the layers of conditioning, fear, responsibility, and identity, there is a wild, radiant being who came here on purpose. And that being is not gone, just forgotten, just waiting. You reclaim stillness. You turn down the noise. You sit with yourself long enough to dissolve the mask of personality. You ask yourself questions that scare you. If I died today, what part of me would die having never been lived? You stop outsourcing your truth to voices that never knew your soul. You stop performing. You stop pretending. You stop postponing your awakening. And slowly, the fog lifts. The script unravels. You begin to feel again, you begin to see again, you begin to remember that you are not your habits, not your name, not your trauma, not your thoughts. You are the consciousness witnessing it all. You are the divine spark playing a temporary role in this ancient, sacred theater of life. And once you remember that, truly remember, the realm of soul amnesia loses all power over you, because you can't suppress someone who is fully awake. You can't control someone who remembers they are infinite. So I ask you now, with everything in me, what have you forgotten about yourself that your soul is begging you to remember? I walked through all 5 dimensions, and this is what I came back to tell you. I didn't read about these dimensions in a book. I didn't learn them from a guru, a retreat, or a seminar. I walked through them, every single one, not in a single night or a dramatic vision, but over years, through silence, loss, breakthroughs, ego death, and moments of terrifying clarity. These weren't abstract realms. They were alive. They breathed through my relationships, my failures, my longing, my loneliness. And as I came back, as I clawed my way out of each dimension, one truth became undeniable. We are all being touched by these realms, whether we realize it or not. You don't need to believe in the metaphysical to be inside one of these dimensions. You just need to live inside a pattern that silences your soul. That's all it takes, because these aren't spooky places filled with demons and shadows. They are frequencies, fields of energy that distort your perception, hijack your purpose, and fracture your identity. They work slowly, quietly, through your habits, your thoughts, your relationships, your choices, and if you're not vigilant, they become your home without asking permission. But the real danger isn't being in one of these realms. It's not knowing you're in one. See, the realm of echoes feeds on your unresolved pain. It wants you to believe that you're still the version of you who got hurt, that healing is impossible, that forgiveness is weakness. But when you face your pain, when you call it by name, when you feel it fully without becoming it, the echoes fade, the frequency breaks, you reclaim your timeline. The domain of masks wants you to perform, to build a life that looks good instead of feels real. But when you strip away the persona, when you dare to be raw, unpolished, imperfect, that domain loses you. And what remains is your essence, the part of you that never needed to pretend. The corridor of endless seeking is trickier because it rewards you for your spiritual hunger. It makes you feel superior for chasing truth while never letting you embody it. But embodiment is the only real exit. When you stop chasing and start living truth, moment by moment, breath by breath, the corridor disappears. because you're no longer seeking, you're being. The realm of false service is perhaps the most heartbreaking because it targets the best in us, our love, our generosity, our desire to help. But love without boundaries is not love, it's martyrdom. And when you remember that your light is sacred, not a currency to be spent for approval, you stop leaking. You start creating from overflow. That's where real service begins. And the realm of soul amnesia, it's the most difficult to leave because it feels the most normal. But remembering is your birthright. You were not born to be a cog in a machine. You were not born to forget. And the moment you stop numbing, stop scrolling, stop running, the moment you sit in utter silence and just listen, something ancient stirs. Something that never left. Something so powerful that the world had to teach you to forget it just to keep functioning. Here's what I came back to tell you. You are not broken. You are not lost. You are not behind. You have simply been entangled. And entanglement is not defeat. It is invitation, an invitation to wake up, to unhook, to rise. Because when you walk through these 5 dimensions and come out the other side, you don't just return to life, you return to yourself. And that is the most sacred homecoming of all. So now I turn the mirror to you, not as a guru, not as a master, but as someone who's crawled through the dark and still carries the mud under my fingernails. I ask you, which dimension is gripping you the tightest right now? And are you ready, truly ready, to leave it behind? Because no one's coming to rescue you, but everything you need is already inside you. All that remains is the remembering, on the choice to return.